Thank you, Martin. And it's a real pleasure to be here with colleagues from TDH, our speakers, and all of our friends online. I do have a slightly longer sort of briefing presentation to distribute after the workshop, so I'll try to keep this version a little bit shorter. Just to say that SD Direct, Social Development Direct, is a social enterprise. We're owned by Plan UK and are thus part of the Plan International global family. And we have been working with Plan UK and International over the past few years on an equitable partnership initiative. Next slide, please. We have that based on our conviction that shifting the power in development, which is absolutely essential, requires more equitable partnerships. And both of these processes require more than just our rhetorical commitment and principles. We need practical tools and collaborative capacity development in order to embed an equitable partnerships approach in our work. So since 2021, with Plan, we've been embarked on a multi-year initiative to develop our approach, and we've called this the Building Equitable Partnerships Initiative, which aims to advance the Global Pledge for Change, which Plan International is part of, along with a number of other international NGOs and leaders of NGOs, and to put forward the Global Plan International agenda for locally led, globally connected development. Next slide, please. The purpose of our Equitable Partnership initiatives is to enhance our joint learning on equitable partnership building and to test practical tools and innovations for equitable partnerships and thus contribute to the wider knowledge base on development partnerships. Next slide, thanks. I won't go into all the details. We've produced a number of products to date, literature review, an interim early stage thought piece. We have developed some tools, including an equitable partnerships continuum, which I'll speak about a little bit later, which is designed to provide a bit of a better typology of partnerships and a basis for setting an appropriate level of ambition with indicators for progress along the road to equitable partnerships. Amongst the other tools that we've been developing in the next phase, the second phase of the project, has been the development of an added value case for partnership template, a tool for undertaking at the early stages of partnership readiness assessment, and a tool with guidance on an adaptable partnership health check process to strengthen mutual self-assessment and mutual accountability with some scoring means. We've also been developing a set of practical case studies to capture learning from efforts to build equitable partnership, and there's a public-facing article thought piece, which I'll reference at the end. Next slide, please. I won't go into all of our findings. They're laid out in some more detail in the follow-up presentation, but some of the things we, in a consultation with a really wide range of stakeholders, principally in the Plan International family and SD Direct, has focused on what some of the things that really need to change, including, as other speakers have highlighted, really basic mindsets and behaviors. So our capacity development approach needs to be very much based on building trust, mutual benefit, respect, leadership development. We need to be looking at strengthening tools like power analysis and careful management of power relations, promoting cultural shifts. We certainly need a sustained approach to localization as exemplified in TDH's initiative and some of the parts of that have been presented today. It's very much important that we have tools that are accessible and adaptable for diverse contexts and have a very clear and renewed understanding of local context. For our side, those things are based on feminist leadership principles, gender transformative and youth-focused approaches. And we recognize that there's some very specialist skills that we need to develop for partnerships. And some of those, some people might characterize as soft skills, but they're things that are really important, like brokering, negotiation, facilitating group process and inclusive dialogue, participatory methods, and so forth. Next slide. There needs to be, we believe, from the feedback from our stakeholders, a real focus on clarifying what are the expectations and readiness to move towards more equitable partnerships. That means better analysis of different kinds of partnerships, appropriate to the opportunity and situation that applies, right-sizing partnerships for the purpose and context, a clear assessment of readiness, the added value everyone brings. And finally, we need to improve our practical tools for accountability dialogue, sharing risk assessment and management, and tools to set an appropriate level of ambition to move forward and assemble the case for partnership. That is complemented by regular partnership health checks. Next slide, please. This then, I won't go into great detail on this, but the follow-up document that I'll put on screen, as well as the longer slide deck, may give you a bit better sense. But our premise is that notionally, and based on the evidence we've seen, there are very different levels of ambition and types of partnerships, going from something that is very transactional, such as typical aid agreements for provision of service that are quite transactional, donor-recipient relationships, for example, through to something that is authentically more collaborative, that within the constraints of the aid system, partners combine resources to deliver better results, delivering value that is more than the sum of the partners' parts, onto something which is equitable, a higher level of ambition, which is really based on active participation, co-creation, like-minded partners pursuing a shared vision with an integrated approach, more equitable sharing of power, resources, ownership, and learning, to the highest level of ambition, which is a much more long-term, deep form of partnership, a co-equal partnership of action, learning, particularly focused on building for building blocks for systemic change. So that may be something, for example, like long-term strategic partnerships for influencing and lobbying and so forth. There are, in our longer documents, a whole set of 8 or 9 pages of more detailed typical indicators of what partnerships might look at different stages or levels of ambition. And the arrow behind these levels suggests that partnerships are never static. They can move back and forth across this spectrum. What matters is, based on principles, which I'm not covering here, but are principles like the ones that have been outlined by TDH, we can do partnerships more equitably at every level of ambition. It's not just simply a case of thinking we can move quickly and always to transformative level. Next slide, please. And this is just a reference to our longer thought piece public documents. We will distribute this link after the webinar, but for those who are interested in having a closer look at some of what the thinking and the feedback and draft tools that we've developed, please do feel free to contact or use this website web link and have a look at the document. So I hope I haven't exceeded my time. Thanks very much for the opportunity to speak.